is the Industry News Smackdown.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get an industry news you ain't never gonna forget.
We're gonna beat your faces with the news so hard you're going straight to oblivion.
Get to it! Yeah.
According to IGN, Seth Gordon, director of films of The King of Kong and Horrible Bosses, has been signed as the director for the upcoming Uncharted film that's been in the works. Since its announcement in 2011, the film has also lined up directors David O. Russell and Neil Burger, but the film from Sony Pictures Entertainment seems to have locked this one in. Hopefully with Gordon at the helm, it will add to the list of great video game movies. You know, like Doom, Blood Rain, Tomb Raider, Postal, Hitman.
After being delayed for more than a month, the Pokemon Bank is finally online. Originally a major factor in the massive influx of new accounts that caused the Christmas Nintendo eShop shutdown, Nintendo was forced to delay release to keep the horde of loyal Pokemon trainers from clogging up their server spaces. But on February 5th, North America finally gained access to the Pokemon Bank, following the European release on the 4th and the Japan release on the 22nd of January. Through this application and the Poke Transfer service that comes along with it, players will be able to store up to 3,000 Pokemon from Generations 5 and 6 in a cloud, transferable to Generation 6 games like X and Y, and presumably the preceding generations if the service works out. As consolation for the delayed release, Nintendo is giving away the event Pokemon Celebi for anyone who signs up for the service before September 2014. Considering how difficult that little bugger is to get, I think Pokemon fans will find it in their hearts to forgive them.
Mamoru Samuragochi, Japanese composer of the Resident Evil and Onimusha series, has recently come clean that he is a fraud. According to GameSpot, he admitted in an official statement that for the last decade he's had someone else compose his works. This came as a shock to the nation, who admiringly refer to him as the modern Beethoven due to his deftness and renown as a composer. Samuragochi's music label has ceased selling his product and will probably cancel a planned tour. Considering some of his best material was written by someone else, we can only hope the writers of Resident Evil follow his lead and get someone else to write their games for a decade.
On February 1st last weekend, Ubisoft seemed to make a pretty strange move. They abandoned the United States trademark for their as-yet unreleased cyber vigilante game, Watch Dogs, one of the most heavily hyped titles of 2014. Weird move, right? Turns out it wasn't Ubisoft that filed the report. Some as-yet unidentified someone sent in a request for express abandonment with the forged signature of the Chief Executive Officer of Ubisoft Entertainment, Yves Guillemot, to the US Patent Office. And it seemed legit enough to them, they decided to go through with it. The forger has yet to be apprehended, but Ubisoft will undoubtedly come down on them with litigious fury of a rudely awakened Yaley Grizzly, since they're so confident in this game franchise that they've made 10 years of plans to keep the series going before the first game has even been released yet. As of February 5th, the patent has been reinstated and Ubisoft has indicated that the game will still release sometime in the second quarter of 2014.
GameSpot recently sat down with Avalanche Studios founder Christopher Sundberg to talk about a few industry issues, one of which being free-to-play games. He first talks about how free-to-play is an unfair label, being slapped on games as though it was a genre rather than a business model. The negative stigma of the label condemns many games that he would say don't take advantage of gamers. Sundberg says, in a free-to-play model, we shouldn't exploit every opportunity to squeeze money out of the player, and that developers shouldn't be greedy. As someone who likes to try out numerous free-to-play games, I agree wholeheartedly with this. When microtransactions rule the design of your game, you're doing something wrong. However, if the game is good on its own, asking for money for small things like costumes, inventory space, or other things that don't directly affect the quality of the game, then you're doing something right. Don't take advantage of your consumers, and if you do, don't try to hide it.
Though BioShock Infinite didn't quite win VGHL's coveted Game of the Year award, fans of the franchise can still rejoice this week. Irrational Games announced last Wednesday that BioShock Infinite Burial at Sea Episode 2 DLC will release March 25th, and according to head developer Ken Levine, this time players will be treated to more than 6 hours of gameplay, compared to the heavily criticized 90-minute average that it took players to beat Episode 1. In the latest installment, you'll play as Elizabeth, the dimension-bending deuteragonist of BioShock Infinite, in the undersea city of Rapture before it devolved into the dystopian chaos that characterized the first game of the series, picking up from the end of the last Burial at Sea DLC. And in addition to the extra gameplay time, Ken Levine remarked that the story will give gamers a new perspective on the BioShock universe and can conclude the story of BioShock Infinite and Burial at Sea. As a sequel to a fairly disappointing first installment, that's pretty ambitious, but we hope the DLC lives up to those standards anyway.
Oh yeah, this is Tyler.
And this is James.
And now with your industry news.